Hello, this is Big Ben, and you're listening to Meet the Entertainers on the Big Ben Show. And today we're talking to a mentalist, Guy Bavli, from born in Israel, now works in the USA. Amazing stuff, really amazing. What about me? Well, I happened by chance to do 2 shows for mentally challenged people. I haven't done these for a long time. I remember doing one 20 years ago, and this weekend I had 2 of them. I did a birthday party for a mentally challenged 25-year-old guy and all his classmates, and then I was at the carnival today in central Hong Kong, and there was a massive group of mentally challenged students and adults coming into the carnival to see the carnival. So wow. Amazing stuff, really amazing. I mean, the guy, these people, mentally challenged, but so full of glee and life and innocence. I, of course, know very, very little about dealing with them, talking to them, doing shows for them. In my mind, I thought to myself, do a simple show, but respect them. Don't treat them as if they're very, very young, because the guy's birthday, the guy was 25 years old, and he was just loving it. He came in, he was jumping around, he was happy. But of course, there's such a range. Some of the guys, some of them obviously were very cognitive and very aware of what was going on, and others seemed much less aware of what was going on. So it was hard to judge the level of my show. I thought, I'll go for it straight away. I gave him the spinning plate at the start of my show, the plate on the stick, and he loved it. But then, without any malice at all, he took the stick from my spinning plate and just snapped it on 2 with great glee. So I just grinned and went, yeah, that's fantastic. Should have known better later on. I made him a balloon animal, and I gave that to him. Again, he was totally delighted, and he ripped it in 2 straight away. He's he was very, very strong, okay? Very, very strong. Well, I've just got back from doing stilts today in the carnival, wondering what the long-term effects are on wearing stilts hour after hour, day after day. I looked up the analysis of musculoskeletal loadings in lower limbs during stilts walkings in occupational activity on the internet, with the reduction in peak joint movements in ankle, plantar flexion and hip extension, blah blah blah. So yeah, there are possible risks in wearing stilts for very, 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 very long times, and I shall take that on board. Now, Guy Bavli, mentalist from Israel, now working in the USA. This is really great stuff. I'm very pleased with this interview. We talk about his whole career arc, from magician to mentalist, from working in Israel to working in America, and some of the big breaks, like working at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas for 3 years in a row, 6 shows a day while he was there. His website is www.masterofthemind.com, so do check it out, it's really good. And also look for him on YouTube. There's some really, really great television clips. It just shows you what a good performer he is. If you want to check me out, my website is www.thebigbenshow.com, and that is also where you can find the older episodes of this podcast. There's only a few episodes up at a time on iTunes or on Podomatic, wherever you are. And if you want to see all the old episodes, there's actually quite a lot now, just go to www.thebigbenshow.com and you can hear the old episodes. Right, let's go and talk to the amazing Guy Bavli. Guy, thank you for talking. Very briefly, if someone asks you what your job is, what do you tell them? What do you tell them that you do for a living?
I've never had a real job. That's what I do. I'm a mentalist, a mind entertainer, and a speaker, and that's what I do for the last couple of decades.
Right. And what kind of bookings, what kind of venues, what kind of events do you perform at?
Well, it's there's what I started with and what I am doing right now. Right now, mostly I do corporate, um, performing arts centers, casinos, private events, kind of a high scaled, and a lot of corporate in the terms of, corporate is a very wide range. There's product launches and conventions client events and this and that. So a lot of these. I do some cruise ships as well.
Okay, yeah.
I work with the cruise ship industry as well, etc., etc. And as every entertainer in our range will say, you do whatever comes in, if it's reputable enough and if the fee is enough.
Exactly. So. All right, got you. And let's go back to the beginning then. Where are you from, and describe how you started to make your tentative steps into this career. Where are you from originally, Guy?
I'm from Israel originally. I was born and raised in Israel, in the center of Israel, jumping between Tel Aviv, Givatayim, and all that center area.
Yeah.
And this is where I started. And at age 5 or 6, I went to a bazaar with my mother, and there was somebody selling magic. But what made me fall in love with magic, that in my very early childhood, I was very fat. I was actually obese.
Okay.
Very, very, very overweight child. I've always looked like the number 8. So I was kind of bullied, and a lot of friends of mine didn't really accept me and made fun of me. And at some point as a child, and you don't think about it, because as a child you are a child, so you don't have much process of thinking. I think the thinking as a child is more of subconscious thinking, because we are very much in tunes with probably our past life, for those who believe in that. And
yes.
If those doesn't believe, then we have our innocence.
Yes.
But I was kind of in my existence trying to make it with my friends and everything. So I found out that the only way for me to be accepted would be to be different, to be interesting as a person, maybe.
Yes.
To make people laugh, to make people fall in love with what I do rather than how I look.
Yes, yes.
And as a child in Israel, I was very enchanted on TV from my very first influential in life, and that was Uri Geller.
Of course.
Uri, in the beginning of the 70s, was very famous and started to be a rising star. He's originally from Israel as well.
Yes.
So I saw him in my black and white TV occasionally, and saw his pictures, and didn't know much anything about that, but I liked his whole concept of being mysterious. And I think at some point I was very talented, so-called. My parents said, but Jewish mom will say anything for her child here. I was very much interesting as a child entertainer. I was funny. I knew how to imitate, so I also imitated Yuri a little bit.
Yes.
Since I didn't have any of these skills, I did have a very strong intuition with my friends, so they said, but I didn't even know what the word intuition means at that age.
Yes, yes.
So when it came to the age 5, I went with my mother to a bazaar, kind of in Tel Aviv, and there was a stand that's selling magic. And the very, very first effect I bought was a telepathic cube.
Right.
If you know this, you put behind your back. Somebody's choosing a color, and remember the color. You put it behind your back, and then you put it close to your forehead, and then you know the color that they're thinking of.
Right, right.
So it's surprising how life is a circle. I started started my career as mentalist.
Yes.
Then I went to magic, and then years later I came back, and now I don't perform magic anymore in the sense of magic as it looked, as we all know it.
Yes.
So that's it. That was my very first thing to be in love with this field. I bought this trick, went home, showed it to all my families, and then I had nobody else to show it. So then I had to convince my mother to go back with me the next day, and we returned it. I remember we didn't have much money, right. and then I bought the entire box that included it in the box.
Ah.
So it wasn't that kind of a Jewish deal. It was a good deal for the vendor,
Yeah.
So, and then I went back with a whole set of a magic kit that I really mastered, and then I just went religiously, between families and friends and perform it anywhere that I could. And as you know, that most people in magic start this way, but they put the box and continue with the next thing. And yes. I just, I did a long mileage on it. And one thing came to another, and then they bought another thing, and my father was a pilot, so in the airlines. Mm-hmm. So he started looking for things abroad, and at age 14, I went first time abroad to Tannen's Magic Camp in New York.
Okay.
And I did a competition there, and I won I think it was the 5th prize, I think.
Okay.
But it was pretty much for me a big deal because a 14-year-old kid from Israel, I think I was the only one from abroad over there. First time alone for a week, didn't even speak that well of English. Won a competition in Israel, it was a big deal, so I went back the next year, and then I won the competition again into a better, I think it was the 3rd prize or something like that.
Great.
So, one thing led to another, and here we are. I mean, I can talk for hours about it, but I guess everybody's destiny is the same, and everybody's beginning is the same. It's just which road are you taking?
Yeah, I think it's quite a common thing. The magicians say that they took up magic because they were shy or they were embarrassed in some way about their appearance. That's quite a common thread. You talk to a lot of magicians, and often they'll say, I did it to make friends. It was my way of being noticed or making my mark in the classroom.
It is, but for me it was more than just being a shy. I was bullied very heavily. I was really fat.
Yeah.
So I didn't do only that. I tried to do anything. I imitated my teachers. I did a lot of things. But magic for me, and seeing the image of Geller, in my subconscious and maybe conscious mind as well, was something that I was focusing for. But because I didn't have the talent and the expertise and all the things that I have today to do that kind of things, as we all know that mentalism or mind reading, if you look at the spectrum of magic at all, it's the most difficult art. And if I'm jumping back to, being older at age 18 when I went to the army,
yes.
I did performances. That was my service in the army. And very quickly, especially over there, in Israel, it's mandatory to do 3 years. And since I don't believe in war and I really believe in peace, I don't know how to hold a gun for my life.
Right.
Then I was really, really lucky that they took my expertise and put it into practice there, because I was quite famous as a teenage in Israel. I was kind of a wonder kid. There was not a lot of publicity, so the little bit I got was a lot that time.
Yeah, so you were like a big fish in a small pond in Israel as this wonderful teenager who could do these amazing magic tricks.
Yeah, and big fish wasn't just a metaphor; it was literally a big fish. Yes, I lost weight. I made a decision at age 15, I think, 15 or 16. I made a decision and I lost 35 kilos, which is like 70 something pound.
Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
But the thing is that when I went to the army and performing for one day big commandos and the other day the people in the kitchen, so you work spectrum of people.
Yes.
And I didn't only perform, as a magician or mentalist, I also performed as an actor and a singer in a group, because that was the only way to get me in. So when the group did production shows and did shows and dancing and singing and the whole thing, they didn't perform every day. But since I could hold the audience in my free days, they sent me to do more shows as my service. So I did hundreds of shows during my service, which brought me a lot of expertise. But in the first 6 months, I realized that pick a card for the very sophisticated Israeli crowd wasn't comfortable on me. And then I made a complete twist and a switch in my mind and adapted more mind effects and put the magic aside and did more mind reading as a performance, mind reading, metal bending, anything that I could hold on. And my goodbye show to the magic world was actually in 1993. That was my last show that I did with doves, because I was very good in manipulation and stuff.
Right.
And at that time, I won any competition you can imagine in the Israeli club, which I love to death because all my friends are there. And that's it. And since then, I took the magic, but I learned a lot of things. I learned psychology, physiology, hypnotherapy, anything that you can imagine. And today I really combine everything. So it's magic in a way, but I'm also using other things.
Sure.
Other things as perception, which suit my personality.
Wow. Yeah, that's fascinating. I have a friend who works in Singapore, and in Singapore they have mandatory military service, and it was during that military service he didn't want to shoot any guns, and they said, well, we'll put you into the we have a drama group for the army, and he did that, and he's gone on to be a professional juggler. So different country, same thing.
Same thing, yeah, incredible.
So as a kid, as a teenager, you're locally famous doing magic shows. Are you doing them for schools, for community centers, things like this?
I started in, obviously my first commercial show I got money for was at age of 8.
Right.
That was for a birthday party.
Right.
Yes. Sorry. My first commercial was in a swimming pool, the town of Herzliya. They booked me to do a show every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock in the morning for I think it was holiday or summer. I don't know. It was maybe 4 or 5 shows. And I remember my dad bought me the swords in the head as my big illusion, and then I did a book test with a Bible and bent a spoon and produced a dove, praying that she's not going to fly away because that was an outdoor show. So that was when I was 8, but because I was so fat, I always looked older. So people thought I was 14, 13. I was very mature for my age. So that was my first thing. From there, I did the birthday parties. I had my mentor that I had the privilege of working with, Ronnie Shachnai, Ronnie Shachnai from now he lives in England, in Scarborough. He was the one who created the Israeli Society for Promoting of the Art of Magic, and he was my mentor, basically, an amazing mentor. And in the 3 or 4 years that I basically nearly came to him every day after school, I was a part of the house, him and Lorraine, his wife, she was British, and the kids, and his whole house was a house of magic and creation. And he had some other great students. I don't know if you know the name Lior Manor. Lior was his student, and many others. We were just, for me, he was like my father till today. I call him my father. He calls me his son.
Brilliant.
And but Ronnie, in the 3 or 4 years that I was with him, like nearly every day, didn't teach me much magic. He was the king of linking rings. He was the king of a lot of things.
Right.
But he taught me how to create. He said, "Okay, guy. Okay, what are we doing today? What do you want to know?" "Oh, I want to know how to do this." "Okay, so let's think. How can we do it?" Then we go and we bought stuff and we created it, because Israel only had one magic shop, and it was very sleazy. And there was nothing much there. Vanishing cigarette box and I don't know, thumb tip or whatever it is. Multiplying balls and Hindu rope. Things like that.
Yes.
So everything we created, vanishing cage.
That's
we built,
amazing.
Everything we did from scratch.
I think that's fascinating. So you're in a place where there's only one little tiny magic shop. Yeah. So that could be a disadvantage, but at the same time you've got your mentor Ronnie, and you're inventing your own stuff.
It's not a disadvantage; it's a big advantage.
Exactly. Yes, it's an advantage. You're inventing your own things.
Everything we did, he created. Even the linking rings, he made them with. He had a metal worker that he made his linking ring. I still have them till today.
Wow.
The best linking rings in the world. I haven't performed with it for 20-something years, but But yeah, Ronnie was the king. He was the king of magic. And he taught me how to create. Even when I did my competition at Tannen's, my first one, he asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do the rings, but I want to do something like futuristic, something spiritual, something that nobody did. So my show was black light, doing spaceships and flying, floating, linking rings, which was black art on black light.
Yes.
So that was my show at age 14 that I won my prize.
Wow, yes, that's very original for 14 years old. That's amazing.
So we sat down and, I used to sew my own pockets and did everything by myself. So that was Ronnie's story. And then Ronnie left Israel in 88 or 89, and then to live in England. And we're still in touch, but, from there, he gave me the push to create. So everything I wanted to do till today is starting with what do I want to do and how do I achieve it, rather than opening a catalog, because as I said, I don't perform magic as magic.
No,
I use the perception and the misdirection and the tricks from time to time. Yet I'm taking a lot of psychological things and things in my show that has nothing to do with magic as well. But I put them together in a mix that it challenge the perception a little bit, makes it a little bit different.
Yeah. So it seems to me if you're starting at age 8 and by the age of 14 you're already performing these amazing shows, did you always know that that's what you wanted to be when you grew up? You wanted to be some kind of magician?
Absolutely, but the funny thing is that at some point, my parents had a very bad divorce, and magic started to be a job. Every Friday came the 3 or 4 birthday party or the hotel show or whatever it is. Some of them I didn't really look forward to. Birthday parties for kids is not easy.
No.
Even when you're a teenage, it's still not easy. But at some point, I needed to support my family or my mother at that point.
Right.
A long story. So it became a job. Job that I love, but it's work. I lost a little bit of my childhood, I would say.
Wow.
So I looked for another hobby, and I started playing. And I didn't know what I want to play, so I started with keyboard, then moved to guitar, then bought a drum set, and in the end, I end up playing everything. And age 18, I had, I made some money, and I built my own recording studio.
Wow.
So which I recorded in my own home. Nobody at age 18 has quarter of an inch tapes and Atari computers and all this little thing.
So going back to your if I may go back to your the story of your life. You're in the army. You're performing there, and when the army finishes, at what point did you? Is it moving to America next? Is that the next big thing in your life?
I always wanted. I always looked outside of the country, because as I said, Israel was very limited in terms of resources. Into the part that we didn't have magic shows. Sometimes I played with the antenna of my TV, the actual antenna, not talking about cables that didn't exist then. And I could reach Jordanian TV that Paul Daniels was there.
Oh, yes. Yes, he was very popular in England.
I watched Paul Daniels with a lot of snow on my TV. And then I was familiar with Paul Daniels. And sometimes I remember there was Mark Wilson's show in Jordan TV. It wasn't a lot in Israel.
Right.
So it was very much challenging. So I always looked for I want to be outside, want to see what's happening there. That's the reason. Well, maybe I was fortunate because my father was a pilot. So once a year I flew with him to New York. So I met Tony Spina, and then I was a great client. And then I met Bob Elliott, may he rest in peace, and all those magicians outside.
Right.
And Mary Adid. I remember Mayor teaching me, which is a dear friend today, teaching me as a teenage, doing the finger fantasies.
Wow.
And then I remember the day that he lost his fingers, all those things. I once a year I had my dream trip.
Yes.
So I always looked for outside, even with the competition. I wanted to win the competition outside. But I started to work in America, I would say in the 90s.
90s, right.
In mid-90s, yeah.
And did you? So you start to work in America full time? You move there permanently?
No. I finished the army. I was signed up with an agency for a while. I did some television shows. I did a lot of TV shows in Israel, so-called. I mean, even my first one in '88 or '87, which was because I won the competition there. It was only one channel in Israel. My TV show was 5:30 in the afternoon.
Yes.
But the next day I went to the street. Everybody looked at me. You know, it's not like today that you have a gazillion channels. You have only one channel.
Of course.
You know?
Yes.
So,
Well, you have some extraordinary videos of your TV work. You've done some really amazing television. You made some amazing television appearances. I was looking on YouTube yesterday. There's a lot of stuff out there of you on TV.
yeah, but thank you. But I'm talking about really the old days.
The old days, sure.
30 years ago. But but from there I started to really wanted to go to. Always dreamed about Las Vegas, this, that, New York.
Sure.
Always dreamed on that. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're getting some work in America. You haven't moved there permanently.
No, actually, the first job was in Europe.
Europe,
in Austria.
Okay.
And it was actually I think it was for a magic convention.
Mm-hmm.
They booked me first time for a magic convention.
Brilliant.
To do the gala show.
Brilliant.
And the guy who made the show, he owned the company.
Right.
And he loved what I did, so he booked me for his company.
Ah.
And then he loved what I did, so he booked me the next year. And then he brought me to another client in Holland. And then I got booked, I don't even remember how, to do something in China, for a TV show in China.
Right.
And then I met a wonderful person, Leon Dean, that said one day, from Germany, said, one day I'm going to bring you to Germany. He was an agent with another actor.
Yes.
And a year later he calls me out of the blue and say, I'm thinking about you and I have a date for you. So he brought me to Germany, and then he was my manager in Germany for, 5 years.
Wow.
And from Germany, I got I opened to some artists there, some big, rock stars or groups, and I did my own shticks. And then I had another agent in Denmark, and just one thing led to another.
Wow.
And then I got my first gig at the Magic Castle.
Yes.
That my very good friend, late friend, unfortunately, what a fantastic person, Amos Levkovich.
Okay.
The wonderful dove worker, which was one of my dearest friends that we lost a couple of years ago.
Okay.
He opened the door for me for the Magic Castle, so I came there, did a lecture, did a show, then another time, and then one day at the Palace, Milt Larsen,
Mm-hmm.
it's the founder of the Magic Castle.
Okay.
Knock on my door and say, "Hey, Guy, just wanted you to know that I brought the vice president of Caesar's Magical Empire, Caesar's World Entertainment, to come and see your show for Caesar's Palace. I think you're going to be great there. So just for you to know, do a good show." And then I tell him, "Milt, you bloody kidding me, right? you don't say things like that before a show. It stressed the hell out of me. I mean, you tell me after the show, but no, you'll be good, son. You'll be good, son.
Yeah.
And then it was a great show, and me and Barry became very good friends. He was the booker then, and then they booked me for Caesar's Palace, and then
I've read about that. 400 shows a year for 3 years. Is that right?
Absolutely, I did
Wow.
more than 400 shows a year.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of shows, a lot of good evening and good night.
Wow. It's amazing. Gosh. Where to begin? So, turning points. Are there any? That sounds like a turning point to me. Getting the message.
Yeah, indeed. Because all of a sudden, well, the magic. I would say turning point for me. One was the army.
Right.
The second one was getting booked. Obviously, the first one ever was Ronnie Shahli.
Sure.
He was the first. Then getting booked in Europe, and actually people fly me to do a show.
Yes.
And then the Magic Castle was opening America, and I loved it. For me, it was a vacation, a paid vacation. You made nearly no money there, as you can remember or know or imagine. You do 3 shows a day, and you're basically losing money.
Right.
But I loved it. And after a couple of years doing that, I went maybe once or twice a year. And then I got Caesars, and that was a big thing because I flew to Vegas. I did 18 weeks every year in Vegas, 9 weeks and 9 weeks.
Wow.
And and you do 6 shows a day.
Gosh.
Tiring.
How long was each show? Was it a half-hour show?
Between 20 minutes to 45 minutes. And the reason is, I was booked originally to do what they call a swing act.
Okay.
A swing act. They had 2 theaters over there. They had a palace theater, and they had a parlor room theater. The parlor room was about 80 or 100 people. The palace was about 150 or 200 people. And the concept was that people have a dinner, a kind of a half an hour dinner with light magical entertainment done by other people.
Right.
And then they come and see a 20-minute, 25-minute show at the parlor. Then they go out, go to another theater, and they see a theater show.
Sure.
And the place worked 7 days a week. So when they booked me originally, because I could do small and large rooms, and because they saw me at the palace, they said, we want you to do the swing act, meaning that you do 2 days here and you do 2 days there. Because nobody can work 7 days a week.
Right, yes.
So, sorry, I did 3 days here, 2 days there, and then it altered. 3 days here, so I do 5 days a week as well.
Sure.
But after a year, this facility became a 5 days a week facility, and they asked me, which room do you prefer?
Oh.
Then I said I want a secret pagoda, and then I worked the parlor room for the next 2 years.
Okay. Wow.
And then I break bread with a lot of great artists who did the palace as well. So that was a great place. I loved it.
So you make a lot of connections. You meet people.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was a great experience. And as you know, you do 6 times a day. Good evening, good night. By the 3rd show, you don't even know anymore what joke you've said, what line you've said.
Oh, this is very, very true. If you do 4 or 5, 3 shows a day, you can't remember if you said something in the first show or the second show, or if you're saying it the first time in the 3rd show. So
you don't, because at least with me, I have the stock lines, and then I have whatever comes.
That's right.
And sometimes the stock lines, really, I find myself, before I even say it, I don't say it because I'm not sure if I said it already.
Exactly, yes.
And that person that you used to bring somebody from that side of the theater, all of a sudden, you're not sure if you took that person or not because it looks familiar, so maybe I'll choose somebody else. And everything that can imagine happened in those 3 years.
Yes. I've spoken to some stand-up comedians who sometimes do 3 or 4, or even 5 or 6 little shows in one night, and they say they have to stick to their script, because if they don't stick to their script, they might think they're improvising, but they're saying something they've already said. They're saying something that they've said already in that particular act. Yeah, they don't want to. They just lose track, like you're saying. They lose track of whether they've spoken to that person before or was in a previous show. They can't remember, so they stick to their script.
Absolutely. But I'm not a script person. Obviously, everybody has his lines and his stories, but I'm very versatile. And also, every day was different. Sometimes they call and say, hey, we need you to put a little three more minutes, and here we need you to cut a little bit because we're running short.
Yeah.
So you had to be very attendant to how long you do, to a point that sometimes, I think my second, 3rd contract, I even had a little digital buzzer on me that I used to put it on a special timing so I know where I'm standing. Because over there we had people from the management coming every week.
Right.
Every week, and we had the surveys happening every day. And if you don't stand to the standard, you're flying away. You're not staying.
Wow.
It's Caesar's Palace. It's not, I don't know, somebody's bar mitzvah,
No, it's
So in one hand, they take it very, very seriously. In the other hand, there was a lot of challenges because it was managed by food and beverage people. And a lot of time, you say, hey, you guys doing a mistake. But, they are running the place.
Okay. So are you, and when you're there, is it just you? Do you have any assistants, or is it just you in control of everything in your show?
My shows is always me. Yes, in my life I did, in the early life, I did some illusions when I did some TV shows and stuff like that. Then I had an assistant. I had in Israel, at least for a long time, I worked with a celebrity artist there. Mm-hmm. We were best friends, and she had television shows, and I was kind of having a spot in her TV show. So we ran and did big shows. I mean, talking about sometimes arenas, because she was a big name.
Wow.
And I was kind of a name, but not as big as she was.
Sure.
So it's funny to say, but my assistant was always famous. So that was kind of funny in a way. But I when I start doing mind reading and stuff like that, I always performed alone. Days I fly with my production manager in 90% of the time.
Right. So, how old were you when you were performing at Caesars?
I was 28,
sure.
29, 20 something, 29, 28,
Yeah, and
I was the first Israeli to perform there. For me, it was yay,
Wow, that's great.
I think the last one, I don't know who else did it on a regular basis. I'm not talking about doing a bar mitzvah or a wedding done at Caesars. I'm talking about somebody who was headlining there.
Yes.
His name in the program,
Yeah. So you're only 28 years old. You're headlining at Caesars. How many shows a day was it again?
6.
6. My God, and they're about half-hour shows. Did you? So your show must have really. You must have got your show must have got really good.
Yes.
There was so much practice.
Yes, and also the funny thing was that I always took the risk to try something new there.
Oh, okay.
And I know it's taking a big risk because you can't take risk in that place. But the thing is that when you become a professional performer, a professional entertainer, you kind of know what is going to work for you and what is not.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe all your jokes and all your presentation is not there, but you know that it's not going to work. It's not like many of the books, and I'm not going to mention names of things that write typewriter effects.
Yes.
They have the theory, but you see them doing a show and you fall asleep because they're not out there performing.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that every time I came with a routine. Let's say I'm doing 3 routines in that 30 minutes. For example, I end up in the end of this session contract cutting one routine off because I became very funny, and for me jokes were always more important than effects.
Ah.
So starting with, let's say, with 3 or 4 effects or routines or whatever it was, always without any exception, I had, either I go overtime, which I cannot do that.
No.
Or I find myself, okay, do one less, bending effect. I will do one less, this beginning with the mind reading thing, I do the beginning, but then the second bit I will cancel because I became more funny. And then you have to be funny also for international audience, because sometimes I had a buyout for Japanese people that hardly speak English, but they bought the show.
Right.
And then you have to be very visual and funny at the same time. So it gave me a lot of experience, but also, I always took entertainment value to take over the actual effects of what I do. Because in the end of the day, people enjoy or they don't enjoy. It doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. I understand totally what you're saying. I do the same myself. My show has evolved over 20 years, and when I'm doing it, in the middle of the show, if something's funny, I'll do more of the funny stuff, and then I will mentally say, okay, I'm just going to I'll cut something else out during the show so that I can finish on time.
Absolutely. In most cases, I don't finish on time, but it depends. Sometimes in corporate world, they say, "Well, I'm the last one, so how long do you guys want?" 45 an hour, but whatever you want. You fill the audience. So
Sure, you're
sometimes
adaptable.
I find myself doing a corporate with an hour and 20.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I did. One time we did a performing arts center, and it was in close to San Francisco, and it was a great show, and it was very great crowd, and I end up the show, and it was 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Gosh.
And I remember that, I like to take the time after that, and till I pack everything, until I, go outside, I talk to people, take pictures, the whole 9 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was so angry at me. You have to go, we pay overtime for all the stuff here, and, the contract of the theater is, chill out, guys. People
Yes.
had a good time, but, they're all like union people,
Of course, yes. If they have to do the lighting and the sound for longer than they're supposed to, they're not
so
going to.
I had to cut short, the mingling with the people outside
Sure.
and taking pictures and go put everything in the suitcase.
Oh.
Nobody gives a damn.
How do you structure a show? Do you have a big start, a talking bit, a big finish? Is there a particular way you structure your shows?
I very much believe in the Juan Tamariz theory.
Okay.
And I look always at my show as a graph.
Okay.
In a way that you have to start high.
Okay. Yeah.
You have to keep it high for a short while. Then you can relax a little bit, and it's
Sure.
okay if it goes down, because you cannot keep high everything. People get tired.
Yes.
So if people wants to get a little bit slower and interesting but slower,
Mm.
and then you need to have a big crescendo in the end.
Yes. Absolutely.
So that's the theory of the things, and in practice, it happens. I would say more in waves.
Mm.
You look at the whole show as one as a group, and then you look at every effect or routine as a group.
Yes.
Every effect and routine is structured in the same way, and then everything put together in the whole show.
Yes.
So that's more or less the thing. But with me, a lot of times, my first effect sometimes can be 10 minutes down the road.
Right.
Because I just talk, and I won't say stand-up because I don't sell myself as a stand-up comedian, but it's more who I am.
Oh.
Selling who you are before you even start doing what you do.
That's very interesting, because I'm sure there's some people who even today, despite there even being a famous TV program called The Mentalist, there'll be some people in your audience who don't know what you are. Is that part
absolutely.
of it? Is that part of it, to tell them, sort of introduce them to the concept of what they're then going to see?
No, a lot of time you have to introduce them.
Yes.
A lot of people do the wrong billing. Not every show is a theater show that people come and buy tickets. When
That's
they buy
right.
tickets, they know what they're looking for.
Yes.
But if you do a corporate, even a cruise ship, people come in the evening because they have nothing else to do.
Mm.
And sometimes they don't come because they don't like this kind of show. Not only for my show, for other shows.
Yes.
But in most cases, people fulfill a huge theater, and they don't really read, who you are. They just come there and say, all right, we're gonna eat, we're gonna see a show, then we're gonna go to the bar, So you have to step up to the plate and sell the concept and sell you.
Yeah.
Because you is what they're gonna like. If you are interesting, then it doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah. I think
If
so.
you are not interesting, I don't give a damn what you're gonna do. You play, you strip, read lines, or you cut somebody in half. You're boring.
I think that's such a key thing. No matter what you do, because I do all kinds of things, because I'm in a funny sort of region, Hong Kong, where there aren't many entertainers. So one day they might ask me to do a magic show, one day they might ask me to do a juggling show, one day they might ask me to do a unicycling show. But actually, it's just me that they're paying for. It's my personality and my charisma. If I'm not interesting on stage, none of it will work.
No, nothing. And a lot of people don't have the ability to do that. So that's why there's so many magicians and so little mentalists, or so little people.
Yes.
That because comedy is not easy. Holding an audience is not easy. And the difference between somebody who gets a little bit of money or a lot of money, beside the publicity, because a lot of time you can be famous and your show is worthless.
Yes.
But
yes.
is just like you hire, like a doctor doing brain surgery on you. Do you want to take a doctor to do it for 25, 30 years, or you want to take somebody who just graduated?
Yeah.
And the success rates of those who do it for a long time will be 1,000,000 times higher.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen so many performers, not only magician, mentalists, I don't care what, they're doing their own TV shows and stuff, and some of them young and promising, and then you go and see their show and you go, oh my God. and I'm not talking also only about magician, everything,
Yes. Yes.
And you go and say, who gave them? I don't get it. And this is experience. It's only experience. When you do thousands, tens of thousands of hours on stage, this is where you become better.
Yeah. Yes.
This is where you get all the obstacles. This is where you get all the hecklers. This is where you get all your jokes. This is where you get your personality. This is where you develop who you are, rather than buying a tape or reading a book and say, I want to be somebody else.
Yes, I think you're right. I think once you start performing professionally and you're performing day after day after day after day, what you learn is so much more important than anything you learnt when you were reading a book or watching a video. It's just one of those things that you have to experience it, and once you're performing every day for year after year, you learn so much. You do.
And that's the only thing, that's the thing. And I truly believe in that experience. There's no price for that.
Okay, let's move on a little bit. You do corporate work as well.
Yep.
And if you're working in a big theatre, like if you're working at Caesars, then they know you. They have the sound crew, etc., etc. If you turn up for a corporate event, they don't necessarily know you. Do you have sound cues? Do you have how do you deal with the technical aspects of going on stage, not in a theatre, maybe in a ballroom in a hotel or something like that? Where how do you deal with the logistics of doing those kind of shows?
First of all, my show is very theatrical.
Right.
So I have a lot of gizmos, as much as I can have. I work with whatever they bring, but you give me more, I'll work with it.
Right.
And I have a lot of music in my show as well.
Ah.
So number one, I'm traveling most of the time with my production manager today, and she's the beach. Not the beach like the sea, like the bitch.
Yes. Yes.
When is the kind of shows that either she cannot, or I have also another production manager that he's coming with me less now because he got something else, but she's working with me now for I think 5 years. She's running the cues, she's doing all the preps, technical preps, etc. But if I do corporate or things that they don't have the budget to fly another person, or she cannot do it, or it's a smaller show.
Yes.
I have the IQ that I work with. The little I call it the little yellow box.
Okay.
That is fantastic with a little question mark. It's fantastic when it works. Sometimes if you lose the sync, then it's not so fantastic.
Okay, let me just jump in there. So what is the IQ?
IQ is basically a virtual soundman.
Okay.
It's a little box, but again, there's many versions of this kind of thing in many different manufacturers today. Basically, it's a music source that you hook it into the sound system, and then you're able to control it with a remote control from stage.
Right. Oh,
so basically, I'm becoming the sound technician as well.
Okay.
And I have mastered it so well that there isn't any show that I do with it that people come in the end, and rather than ask me how the hell did you do this, is who's running your music?
Yes.
Because a lot of time I act as if I have a soundman.
Yes. Oh, lovely.
And I give this when you pass your hand under your chin.
Yes.
and the music stop, or
Yes.
or I make gestures to make it look, one, because I'm used to it, which is a part of the show, a part of the comedy, or a part of whatever it is.
Yes.
Or just thing happens on time.
Oh, that's
and
fantastic.
Then look around and they see there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Or only another person, but he's not doing anything, and
Guy, that's wonderful. This is exactly the kind of thing that I like to learn about, because I knew that some of the performers I know have remote controls for their iPods and iPads, and another magician I know uses an app for his iPhone called Show Cues. But I'd never heard of IQ before. I'm going to investigate. That's exactly the kind of things I like to hear about.
Yeah, but how do you work with show cue? If the phone is connected to the system, how do you cue it?
So he writes down the cues, like when I take the rabbit out of the hat.
So somebody's operating it.
So someone's reading it. Someone's reading it. So they see it says, when I take the rabbit out of the hat, press play or press the next button. So I don't
trust it. I don't trust this thing. Although I have cue sheets and everything, and if I go and I work outside, let's say cruise ships, they have their own. I don't bring my technician with me.
Sure.
But I have a cue sheet, and they have all the things that they need to know over there, and we have my rehearsals between an hour to an hour and a half. No bending corners.
Yeah, rehearsal.
And we do a rehearsal, and we run the show, and we make sure the cues are fine. And some shows are fantastic, and some shows are less fantastic.
Yes. And of course, at a corporate event, you're not necessarily going to have a time for rehearsal, are you? Sometimes you're just going to turn up and...
No, corporate shows, I come with... very, very rarely I take the person aside, and... I can do the show without music. I don't need the music. Give me a microphone, I'll do it. But I feel naked. It's like watching a movie without soundtrack.
Yes.
It's not romantic, it's not funny, and it's not scary.
Yeah.
I have some friends who call me a mind-reading illusionist.
Right.
Because I treat it as a big show.
Yes.
Yes.
Your music, do you use copyright free music, or do you just use music from anywhere? Have you ever had any problems with that?
No, copyrights, and some of them made for me.
Some of them made for you, right.
Yeah, some copyright, yeah.
Do you bring your own microphone to the shows, or do you use whichever microphone they have?
I have a very specific tech writer, and I have always with me my Countryman, which I bought 12 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Cost me a fortune at that time. And I always have it in my bag. It's a fantastic microphone. Yeah. I never take it out unless I have to. Because, but if I don't have, then, but it's only the mic. It's not the receiver. Right. Although I have a receiver, only if it's a small show and I know that they don't have a I'll bring it with me. But I don't want to carry it. It's too heavy for me.
Do you ever use a headset, or do you use a handheld microphone? Headset, yes. So your hands are free. Got it.
For me, it's a headset and 4 handy microphones for the other things.
What about costume? How do you dress when you're on stage?
Like a normal person. Yeah. Dress nicely, obviously.
Dress nicely, but normal. Yes.
Yeah. I don't have. I'm not the kind of the Jeff McBride look.
Sure, got it.
Just not my style and not my personality on stage.
Yes, and also if you're
goes against my religion, my not religion as a religious religion, goes against my theory religion.
Sure. Yeah, and also as you're a mentalist, it makes sense to look like a real regular person, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess that would go for your persona on stage as well. It's just it's you. You're not acting as a character.
Well, at some point in life, unless you're an actor, you develop something that is you.
Yes.
And if you don't develop it, it's very sad. It means that you're an imitator or an actor.
Yes.
But you have to be you. Now, my you is different than if I go to the supermarket,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
It's a different you. So, yes, you develop a stage personality. I'm very animated. I'm very excited. I'm very mysterious at times. I'm very tense, tensified, when I need to. I play very much between the really funny, goofy person.
Yes.
I can switch up immediately and be very serious.
Yes, I've seen your videos. Some amazing videos of you on YouTube. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So, but only if it serves the purpose, of course. So yeah, and then you find your own way. When I was young, I wanted to be Shimada because I love dove magic.
Yes.
So I performed like Shimada, and I didn't know other things. But I was so young, you can't find your personality at that age.
Yeah.
In the end of the day, you feel, I don't feel comfortable doing it. I don't feel comfortable doing illusions and wave my hands all over. Why do I do it?
Right.
Just because I had a dream that I want to be like Copperfield or somebody or Doug Henning, No, it's not me.
Right.
You find who's you, what makes you comfortable.
Yeah. This could probably be another entire podcast on this, but what has been the best way, talking about marketing yourself, what has been the best way for you of getting more business?
It's $1 million question.
Exactly, yeah.
There is no best way. The best way is to move with the cheese. If you know the book, Who Moved My Cheese?
Oh yes, I've read that, yes.
So the best way is just to move with the cheese.
Yeah.
Is always be open. There is no one way.
Yeah.
One way works for me, doesn't work for you, and tomorrow the way that works for me doesn't going to work for me again.
Yes.
You have to adapt. You have to change. You have to go with it. It's a total investigation.
Yeah.
My good friend Gil Eagles told me many times. He said, "Guy, remember the word show business. Business is twice as long as the word show, and it has a reason." And he's so right.
Yeah.
What a dear person, what a dear performer, and what a dear friend. He's so right about it.
Yes.
The business is the complicated issue.
Yes,
obviously, after you have the product, if your product doesn't make sense, then it doesn't matter what kind of business you do.
Yes, all of us performers, all of us performers who are making a living as entertainers, we're also having to do a lot of work as businessmen, because if we don't get the bookings, then it doesn't matter how good our show is. No one's ever gonna see it, and we're not gonna make any money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or if your show is a piece of crap, sorry for my Hebrew, then you won't get booked again.
That's true. Yes. If you do a good show, you get more bookings. If you're on a show where you're allowed to give out your own name cards if you're working for yourself, that's great. If you can make contacts with other entertainment companies, that can get you work. I don't know how much work I get.
I've learned that there is no system.
There's no system, no.
I've learned there is no system. The system is that there is no system.
Yeah.
Everybody works for something else. Everything is different.
Yes.
And it's hard to put a finger on what's working and what's not. It's what's working for you.
Yeah.
And there's two kinds of entertainers also. There's the business entertainers and there's the flying entertainers.
Okay.
The flying entertainers are those who live in a mystery world. They have no idea about contracts and we can do this and we can do that, and the way between them to reality is like the distance between me to I don't know to Hong Kong at the moment.
Yeah.
Which I was there a couple of weeks ago, in between flights.
Oh, there you go.
But so for those who doesn't have any business sense, first of all, you have to recognize who you are. Do you have a business sense, or you live in a fantasy world? If you live in a fantasy world and it doesn't work, then you need an agent.
Yes.
So your act might be fantastic, and if you don't, I can do this and let's do this and let's do that. Those people who always talk and plan, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And some people, they are entertainers and they have a business sense.
Yes.
And when they read the contract, they know what's right and what's wrong. And when they negotiate, they know how to do it. And so you have to identify yourself, who you are.
Yeah.
I'm more of the business person, so
Right.
I understand it. Am I a great business? Obviously, there's better business people than me. Trump is a bit better businessman than me, you know, and I can name a lot. He's a lot better than me, but you know, you have to define who you are to understand how you want to manage your business.
Now, this could also be a whole nother podcast. How important is the internet and your website and things like social media for you? Is that I found you through LinkedIn. You found me through LinkedIn, so you obviously do pay some attention to the internet. Is that very important to you?
It is important, whether I like it or not. It is important this way. I mean, try to make a living without a phone call.
Yeah.
A phone.
Yeah.
Whether it's a landline or a cell phone, you can't.
No.
And as we get more modern, you can't do it. You know, try to make a living without emails.
Yes.
So yes, it is. And what can we do? You know, when you are Elton John, then you can just put a little sign with a text, and everybody will come in.
Yes.
But when you're not, you need to, especially in an art which is not as visual. It's not like a song that they know.
Yes.
People want to know what it is. People, you know, so whether people know what it is and they want to follow you, or if they don't know what you do and you want to teach them, you need to have a decent portfolio.
Yeah.
What we used to print 20, 30 years ago, flyers and brochures, today hardly exist.
That's right. Yeah.
So again, moving with the cheese, you know.
Yes.
Print. I have folders and brochures and everything, but
me too.
not as often. You know. Usually we send them to those who want it.
Yeah.
You know.
I have them because I printed them like 10 years ago, and I still have a few left. I don't print many more now. It's mainly
reminds me of my very, very late good friend Barry. Not Barry. No, McComb.
Okay.
Billy McComb. My goodness, I had blackout. Billy was a dear friend of mine, and I hang up with him a lot in the castle. Even wrote the opening for my book that never published. We were very good friends, and I learned a lot from him. But one time I told him, Billy, do you have any promotional material? The next day he brought me a bag full of those things. Billy is like, at that time it was 76, 75.
Yeah.
And he's bringing me his brochure that he's giving away from the London Palladium from 1963. You know, and he, you know, his hair is all black and...
Yeah.
Said, what are you thinking? He said, yeah, well, people know, but, you know, I still have a lot, so I give them away, you know. So I'm trying to be very much on top of things and not to be dated as much as I can.
Yes.
That's why every 2-3 years I do a new promo and blah, blah, blah.
Okay. Yes, I looked on YouTube again, and I see your promo coming up every few years, a new one. Amazing stuff.
Thanks a lot.
Looking back over your whole career, is there any particular show that individually stands out as a really? Are there any particular ones that really stand out as a really good show? Something that you really enjoyed, in particular?
You know, there's a lot of mishmash in mine, and you know, when I try to remember all the shows, you don't really remember. Some shows you remember more than the others. Some shows you remember more the trips around the show rather than the trips.
Yeah.
Some shows you remember not specifically the show, but you remember what came out of this show.
Yeah. Well, I normally remember the location more than the show. Someone said, "Oh, I saw you. You came to this event," and I was like, "I don't remember that. It was at such and such a hotel in the ballroom." And then I remember the location.
Yeah.
I can't remember the show.
Because we do a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of things that happened in the career that, you know, they're worthwhile telling a story about. But you know, it's all the same thing. You know, calling you to a show when you're in the toilet and nobody's giving you a heads up, and then you run in and do your whole show with your fly open.
Has that happened? Really?
Yeah. The stage manager forgot, you know, do 6 shows, and he had a talk back, and then, you know, it says, Bavli, we have 6 minutes to show, or, you know, get ready, we're starting a show, we're in delay. You know, he talks to a speaker in my dressing room.
Yeah.
then I know.
Yeah.
But one time I'm just a person, sitting in the toilet, and I hear the last words of "Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Guy Bavli," and I hear the applause, and it goes like an epiphany, and you say, "What the fuck? Sorry, is happening here?" And you just run.
Yeah,
and I remember I took the jacket and I put everything up, and I just run, and my opening was "Good evening, people." and in my mind I said, the worst case, it's going to be an empty room. Maybe I'm not, because my room was quite big, so I had a distance.
Yeah.
And there was a crowd there.
Okay.
And you start a show, and then you're not sure if you put the things in your pocket or if you set it up correctly.
Oh, yeah.
You have all those things happening, and it happens all the time. I believe to any one of us that does it.
If you do it long enough, everything will happen eventually.
Everything happens. Yeah. So there's a lot of these stories. One time I had a buyout for a convention for topless cleaning ladies. So everybody was dressed, but I was the only man in the crowd.
Right.
That was very intriguing and very interesting. So you have all kind of those little things that you remember towards your career.
Yeah.
That always there's a story to tell.
Yeah.
But you have to be drunk, and you have to be driven by maybe other entertainers. And everybody brings a story, and then, this reminds you of that, and then you bounce back and forth.
Yeah, the time I fell into the swimming pool right before the show, that happened to me once.
It happened to you?
I fell into the swimming pool right before the show. I did the whole show. I did the whole show with my costume soaking wet.
That's fantastic. My microphone about 2 years ago fell. I had a handheld because I didn't have, and then I gave it to somebody, and she dropped it, and it rolled into the pool.
Oh no!
And I see the soundman go, no, like in slow motion.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Oh,
there goes $800.
Yeah.
Those things happen. I fell off stage. A lot of things happened,
Yeah.
Too many stories to count.
To wrap things up, Guy, fantastic talking to you. Are there any tips you would give to someone who is just starting out as some kind of an entertainer? Is there anything general and also anything specific?
Okay. First of all, I don't look anymore as magic, mentalist. I look at entertainment as a whole.
Right.
And even today in my show, although yes, I'm a mentalist, as I said, I combine a lot of things, and not everything is just magic or trickery. A lot of it is trickery of the mind or psychology thing.
Sure.
And the first thing that I would say is always be yourself, and first of all, discover who you are.
Yeah.
And the way to know who you are is when you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Because doesn't matter how comfortable you are imitating other people, in the end of the day, you're imitating another person. Now, if you're an actor, then it's the right thing to do, because you go into that person's shoes.
Mm-mm.
But when you're performing your material as somebody else's personality, unless you're an imitator, unless you're imitating that person is known to the crowd, there is no chance in the world that you will be genuine.
Yes.
And being genuine on stage is the most important thing to do, because especially when you have miracle makers as we are, or even if you deliver a joke, doesn't matter who you are, even if you sing, if you don't deliver the story with emotion and compassion and everything, or you don't tell the story with the right punchline and like you believe in what you're saying, it's not going to happen. People will spot it on the spot.
Yeah.
So being genuine is 100% important. Believing in what you do and believing in yourself and finding yourself. Who are you on stage?
Yeah.
That's one thing. The other thing is always have a vision of where you want to go.
Okay.
And when you build your show, build it the way that you'll be comfortable with it. And don't always take what you see and copy it one-to-one.
Right.
Because in the end of the day, the table is big, the table is small, the cards are big, cards are small. the joke is about the Italian, American, and Jewish person, or it can be the Chinese, the Thai, and the Singaporean going into a bar.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Make it your own. Maybe they're not going into a bar. Maybe they went to a to a football together. Because that's what you feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Be yourself and be who you are, because people recognize it from a mile away.
Guy, fantastic talking to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So, that's Guy Bavli. Loads of great stuff there. A consummate entertainer. And wasn't it interesting to hear him say jokes are more important to him than the magic effects. I thought that was fascinating. Lovely to hear about another way of controlling your music, IQ, his yellow box, which he uses to control his music. And marketing for him, he just moves with the cheese. That's a great idea. And also the importance of the word business in show business. That's very important. As well, of course, of his religion, as it were, of being yourself, being genuine and finding your own personality on stage. And of course all the many magicians and friends who've influenced him. It was amazing and wonderful to hear him praise all the people that he's met along the way. And I'm going to try and track down the spellings for the names for IQ and for all the people who influenced him, and I'll try and put those names with the correct spellings in the description to this episode. Alright, take care, talk to you again soon, bye bye.